Welcome back to the In and Out Talks podcast, guys, powered by Tier 1 Performance, where we cover everything health, wellness, and sports. Today's special guest is a very close person to me, an uncle of mine, Mark Matulia, played baseball at Georgia Tech. And Uncle Mark, hey, welcome to the show. I really appreciate you taking the time to come on today.
Not a problem. Looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, so just for our viewers out there, I mean, a little bit about yourself and your upbringing. Where'd you grow up and what kind of sports were you into from a young age?
So I was like a lot of people. I played baseball, football, basketball as a youngster, and then when I got to high school, I had to give one of them up. I gave up basketball and played baseball and football both in high school, and then from there went to Georgia Tech and played baseball at Georgia Tech.
Very
And then
nice.
after my playing career at Georgia Tech, injury shortened my career, and I ended up as undergraduate coaching and post graduation, I coached as well.
Yes. And I know you grew up in an extremely athletic and competitive environment. Walk us through that, and who had an impact on your athletic career throughout your childhood, would you say?
Well, I mean, like everybody else, I mean, my parents had a lot to do with it, and I had an older and younger brother both that were athletes, and my sister was an athlete. I was fortunate to have some youth baseball coaches in particular that had an extreme impact on my career, impact on where I went to school, as a matter of fact, because I wouldn't have gone to Georgia Tech if it wasn't for one of my coaches that helped me, make a decision to go to Georgia Tech.
Very nice. And walk us through what it's like in the recruiting process, because I know it's changed a lot since it did back then. I mean, what year did you graduate high school, and how was it like whenever Georgia Tech reached out to you?
Well, as I mentioned, I was on a pretty well-known summer league baseball team. The guy that coached the team was actually East Coast supervisor for the Milwaukee Brewers. At the time, my final decisions was going to be either go to the Naval Academy or to go to the Citadel. And then he came and one day and said, I talked to the new head baseball coach at Georgia Tech, and I think that would be a good spot for you. Selfishly, I think he probably knew that if I went to the Naval Academy, I wasn't going to be able to play summer league baseball. So anyway, he got me in touch with the coach at Georgia Tech, and it was I was his first recruit. I didn't know that at the time, but I was actually his first recruit that he signed to go to Georgia Tech. And this is when Georgia Tech just first entered the ACC. So we were 1-13 prior to us get our freshman class getting there, and our when we were seniors, that first recruiting class won the ACC championship. So
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good group of players that I came in with.
That's awesome. And you were playing what position at the time?
At the time, I was playing shortstop, second base. When I went to Tech, I played some second base, and I did actually play some center field as well. So I could run and throw. Hitting was a little bit of an issue for me. So as you well know, if you can run and throw, they usually try to find a spot for you.
Yeah, Jordan knows all about that.
Yeah,
He
living
could hit
philosophy.
too. He dedefinitely could run.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I hear from my dad. Tell me stories about you growing up all the time. He's like, fastest white dude I've ever seen.
Well, I mean, the only claim to fame I have is through high school and through college both, and summer league. I was never thrown out stealing.
What did you do for summer league? Where would you play?
Excuse me?
Where would you play in summer league?
In the summer league, I played second base mostly.
What league were you in?
Well, way back then, that was called USSSA. It was the All-American Amateur Baseball Association. We didn't have all this perfect game and all this other stuff. You either played American Legion or you played AAA-BA. I mean, that was your choice in the states that I was
Crazy how
involved
much it's
in.
changed.
Yeah, it's really changed a lot. Yeah, there was no USSSA, none of that business. It was American Legion or AAA-BA.
Was it wood bat or was it metal?
It was metal. It was metal bats. You know, we were 29-32s. I mean, that was the bat you had available. That was the only size and weight bat you had. You know, you did 34, 30, I guess, would be the drops. Yeah, Easton bats, I think, was about all there was.
Not a lot to choose from.
Easton
Yeah,
Black Magics and stuff like that.
yeah, there not much to choose from. I mean, we actually shared bats. You know, it wasn't like it is now where everybody has their own bat. You know, a lot of times the team, when I was at Tech, we shared bats.
What kind of gloves did you use?
Uh, Same as everybody now. I mean, it was a Rollins glove.
Rawls got Mitch is a Wilson boy.
Some
Yeah,
guy.
yeah, for the most part, we were Rollins. The big difference is, and this is going back way back. U.S. Tobacco Company used to bring tobacco products and put them in our dugout.
Y'all were sponsored, huh?
Yeah, they were sponsoring the company.
Yeah.
NIL before the NIL.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, it was
That's funny.
lot has changed.
Yeah, they don't make them like they used to.
No, and the crazy thing about it is, from a scholarship standpoint, the NCAA, I think, is going to 26 baseball scholarships. Back then, we have like 11.9 at Tech, and I think we're at 12 point something now. So we're not going to go up to the 26 scholarships this year, like a lot of the colleges are able to do this year. And a lot of it has to do with, if we increase our scholarships, at Georgia Tech, we'd have to find another female sport to pay for, because
Because of Title IX.
that Title IX's correct. Yeah.
Right.
That's
And,
right.
and so, Uncle Mark, walk us through that transition going to Georgia Tech. Obviously, you're playing in the ACC, Power Four school. What was the transition like going from high school to college?
Well, the summer league team that I played on was extremely good. There wasn't much of a difference between the summer league and going to college. I mean, the difference was just the age. The summer league team was 19 under team. Obviously, when you went to college, there's juniors and seniors, and that are over that age. But as far as the quality of players, I mean, a lot of those guys. I mean, some of the guys in my summer league team played at Clemson, Liberty University, University of Maryland. I mean, we met a lot of those players during the course of the season, because we were in the ACC. Back then, Maryland was still in the ACC. It's like everything else. When you walk over to shortstop on the first day, it's like, okay, well, I was the first recruit and I'm a shortstop, and I expected to be another shortstop there. I didn't expect like 4 or 5 shortstops there, and that's the case now. The best athletes, a lot of the best athletes are middle infielders. Are short. If you go to a high school and recruit a kid, they're probably playing shortstop or center field or first base or catcher or third base. I mean, it's just the way it is. It wasn't much different then. I mean, it's the competition, the guys that I played against on my own team. We had 16 freshmen that came in with me, so it was a younger team. A lot of the freshmen played, and that was the reason why we were so good our senior years, because a lot of those freshmen played all 4 years.
And did you get a pretty good amount of playing time your freshman year?
My freshman year, I did, because I was healthy. I DH'd a lot. I did a lot of, pinch running for the most part. I DH'd. I remember DHing up, I don't know where it was in the season, but I remember DHing up in Maryland because my folks are, from Maryland. They had a chance to come see me play. I didn't have a great outing. I think after I left Maryland, I probably was just running bases after that. It was just one of those series.
Absolutely, everyone goes through those, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know exactly what you mean.
play the game long enough, they're going to go through those.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I guess how many of those guys stuck it out throughout the 4 years at Georgia Tech?
I think I looked in the media guy. I think 6 of them were, went through the senior year. A lot of them stayed in school, didn't continue playing, but they stayed in school. But that senior year, there was several. Well, our center fielder played all 4 years. Our second baseman played all 4 years. We had a pitcher that was a relief pitcher. He played, of course, all 4 years. We had a kind of a platoon outfielder that played. Actually, there was another outfielder that played all 4 years. So there was 4 of them that were regular players, 4 of the 6.
Yeah, I think that's kind of crazy, the drop off having coming in with 16 guys, because I came in to college at URI with a huge class. I think we had like 17, 18 freshmen and JUCO transfers. And when I graduated, there was only 4 of us left.
Right.
Like there was a huge either they transferred, stopped playing, or didn't make it, or got cut themselves. But it was pretty wild having a young group of guys. And we were good my senior year. It was just like all those guys, and only 4 of us made it. Like when your parents walk you out on like your last home game, there was only 4 of us that went
Right.
out together.
Well,
Yeah.
the interesting thing about our group is we won 4 consecutive ACC championships. So our senior year was the first of 4. The next year, I coached full time. We won the ACC championship then, and then they went on to win 2 more ACC championships. But there was a couple of exceptional players on that team, i.e. Kevin Brown. That was a really, really good pitcher. We had another pitcher named Keith Fleming that played pro ball. We had another pitcher named Todd Shiver that played pro ball. So we had the difference between the team now and the team back then is, the team now is great hitting bunch, I shouldn't say the team now. The team up until this year always have, our Georgia Tech teams always have a good batting average, score a lot of runs. Runs and production is not an issue. The issue always has been pitching. And back then we had very good pitching. I mean, we had good hitting too, but we had very, very good pitching. And that was my comment to the assistant coach. I said, he asked, you guys got any questions about the team? I said, I got one question, and I don't even need to know the answer. I'm just asking the question. And I'd like for you to ask Coach Ramsey this. I said, who's your number one? Because if you don't know who your number one is, you don't have a number one.
Yeah, that's true.
And then once they tell you who the number one is, and then say who's the number 2, because you should again know who your number 2 is. If you don't know your number 2, then you don't have a number 2.
Right.
That's my if you're still competing for 1 and 2, then that usually doesn't bode well for your season.
Now, coming from someone who's won several ACC championships and been a part of like deep caliber teams, like, would you say how important was that team chemistry? Like, you guys came in, you were young, so you guys had pretty good chemistry, I would assume.
Yeah, it's and I'm not so sure that is still out there, the kind of chemistry we had. We had some I think back of some of the things that we bonded on, we happened to all have to run wind sprints together when somebody decided to chew some tobacco in study hall. And so, 5 o'clock, 60-yard dashes are not fun as a team. And especially doing it until somebody had a upchuck, that's not a fun thing. And it's a bonding thing. And believe it or not, it sounds like, well, this is
bonding with the trauma, you going through it together, right?
Yeah. Can somebody upchuck before me?
Yeah.
I don't want to be the guy there.
Yeah.
Everyone's like trying to touch the punching bag in the back of their throat.
Yeah. I'll respect you if you do it, but I don't want to do it.
It's so, and now I think a lot of, there's a lot of teams flying, we took buses. And so, the camaraderie on those buses, just,
Oh, yeah, the
playing,
movies you go
playing
through.
cards or,
Yeah.
even doing homework together. I mean, some of that stuff, there's a lot of bonding stuff on the bus. Um, we had the same bus driver all 4 years, and he was a great fan, and it was, we always look forward to going on a road trip because there was a lot of bonding taking place. We back then we didn't, all the teams now have 2 players per room. When you go on a road trip, back then, shoot, we started out with 4 players per room. So again, there's a
Yeah.
lot of bonding going on. By the time I was coaching, that first year coaching, we went to 2 men rooms, and that was the first year that we did that. And I mentioned Kevin Brown, but I forgot to mention a guy named Jim Poole. He played 11 years in the major leagues as a relief pitcher. Kevin Brown and Jim Poole were roommates on our road trips. So it's like, I don't know what those guys were talking about, but I wish I was in that room because they both ended up spending a lot of time in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, those guys that ended up playing Major League Baseball, is there something about them that you noticed that separated them besides like, sheer talent compared
Uh,
to the other
well, I
players?
mean, Jim Poole and Jim has passed, and Jim had a breaking ball. If you were a left-handed hitter, it was one of those breaking balls that started behind your head and ended up on the outside corner. I mean, it was just, you knew it was coming and you just couldn't hit it. I mean, it was, and he played 11 years, and he was I don't know if you'll recall, but he was a left-handed specialist. I mean, he oftentimes just pitched to one hitter or a couple hitters, and that was it. And he spent 11 years in the major leagues. But if you were a left-handed hitter, you didn't want to hit that stuff. I can tell you that. Kevin Brown, I don't know if you recall, but Kevin Brown was the first major league player to sign a $100 million contract. And he did that with the Dodgers. He signed a 10-year, $10 million a year contract way back when. And, he had, when he came to Tech, he dropped his arm down just a hair, and by dropping his arm down just a hair, he developed this nasty fastball that just caved in. It went into right-handed hitters, and it was just nasty. And then he had a good slider, and what made him so good was he's just a big time competitor, and he wanted the inside of the plate. He wasn't going to give anybody the inside of the plate. He didn't mind, throwing balls way inside, if you know what I mean. And
Yeah.
he was a great, he was a tough guy when he wasn't pitching. He was tough on the other team, but when he was pitching, he was really tough.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's hard nosed. And throughout those teams, was the regionals set up the same way then as it is now?
There was you had to win the ACC tournament to make the playoffs. I mean, there was 48 teams in the playoffs. We had I guess it was 8 regions with 6 teams in it. Yeah, because we played one year. We played at Miami, at University of Miami, and then the other year we played at Florida State playoffs. But it was a 6-team regional.
So it was never at a neutral site. It was at whoever was a higher seed, or was it?
Right. Yeah. When we played at Miami was the number 1 seed. And when we played at Florida State was number 1 seed.
Did you guys ever make it to a super?
There was no supers.
There was no
I mean,
super seed.
so yeah, if you won your region, you went to the World Series.
Got you.
Oh,
So there was no
nice.
supers.
Skip the Hoopers.
But it was 48 teams, and you had to win your. There's a lot more conferences back then. You had to win your conference to get an automatic bid.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's pretty cool. Did you bust to all those too?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, I'll tell you guys this so that you'll kind of laugh. But my second year I coached, when I was coaching, we were at Miami, and My last game coaching, I watched the last few innings from outside of the fence.
He got kicked out. Nice.
Yeah.
What was the call? What was the call that sent you over the rails?
Well, it was. We kind of felt like Miami got all the calls. You know, they were the host team, and you know the umpires were from that area, of course. And
Yeah, they're
you know,
vicious.
we felt like they got some calls that we didn't get, and I don't know. We had our center fielder who was an outstanding player, Scott Jordan. He had a bang bang play at first base, and he had said a couple things to the umpires. Of course, we couldn't afford to lose him, so I stepped between him and the umpire, and I said a few things that probably Scott didn't say.
Made a business decision.
Yeah, that gave me an opportunity to watch the rest of the game from outside of the field.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's it. Go out on your terms.
Yeah.
The Bull Durham interaction comes to mind.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what we.
It ended up being in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and the kind of the ironic thing about it was we had this umpire before, but it was a one-armed umpire. And
No way.
He didn't have one arm, so I got thrown out by a one-armed umpire. And we nicknamed him Lefty. But
Great.
so
That's a
I'm
good
in
way
the
to-
paper getting thrown out by a one-armed umpire.
No, man.
In your final game as a coach.
Final game as a coach, yeah. Yeah.
That's
Well,
great.
and I'll mention this because this was that I guess that senior year we had a guy on our team, and it was more the 1 year after our senior year, that first year that I coached full time. We had a guy named Ricardo Ingram, and Ricardo Ingram's claim to fame was he was the ACC athlete of the year, all sports. And he played both football and baseball. He's all ACC in football, and he was all ACC in baseball as well. He had, not that year, but the next year after I left, he had 101 RBIs. And he is actually second in the ACC with 101 RBIs. And Jay Payton has 102 RBIs. So he's not only in second place in the ACC, but he's second place at Georgia Tech. Because Jay Payton had 102 RBIs. I mean,
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's a lot of RBIs, and that was, let's see, we were 45-17 that year. So,
wow, 45-17. Oh my goodness.
And so you started coaching your junior year, was it?
I actually started coaching my my junior year. Excuse me, my junior year. So I played the first 2 years, and then my junior year I started coaching. So I coached as an undergraduate, junior and senior year, and then full-time the year afterwards.
And at that point in time, were you wanting to pursue coaching beyond college?
I tell people that 1 year after I finished going to Georgia Tech and coached full-time, you know, the one thing that Georgia Tech never really taught me is how to live off $15,000 a year. You know, I didn't take that class. And so
Neither did I.
So I decided to use my degree and do something a little different.
No, it's a grind.
I enjoyed coaching, and you know, it's that what changed for me and for us is we got lights that year I was coaching, and we played tons of games under the lights. As you guys know, with coaching and playing, you know, if you play a night game, and by the time you clean up the field and do all the stuff you need to do, you're home at 11 o'clock, and I was back at it at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and I went from January the 4th to 1st of June, and I think I had 2 days that I wasn't on the field.
It's a grind. Jordan and I talk about that.
It's a grind, yeah.
It's 10, 15 years sometimes before you even get an opportunity to become a head coach at the Division I level. So it's bouncing around the country, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I often look back and say, you know, if I would have stayed there with Jim Morris, you know, I was comfortable that I could have stayed there. You know, if I would have stayed there, he was like I want to say 10 or 12 years post my graduation, that before he left and went to University of Miami, and I would have had probably just the right amount of experience to be a head coach, but I chose to go a different direction.
Were there some things that you saw as a coach that you couldn't see as a player?
Well, I was pretty fortunate. When you read the media guide, Coach Morris said that, Mark had been coached by some outstanding youth coaches. I played for this team again. The guy that was running the team was East Coast supervisor for the Brewers, so I mean he knew baseball. I played for another guy that was a Marine that knew baseball, and then we ran a baseball camp. As Mitch, as you know, we ran a baseball camp from my junior year in high school all the way through college. That we had a youth baseball camp in the summer, so I did a lot of coaching, and I went to some clinics and things like that. Coach Morris was very knowledgeable coach. I don't know if you remember a guy named Turtle Thomas, but I coached with Turtle Thomas one year, and so I was pretty fortunate to have some really good coaching, and that was part of. You guys know this from working, but some coaches overcoach really and truly. They overanalyze kids, and a lot of it's just go out there and hit the daggone ball. I mean, like with Ricardo Ingram, I had a conversation with Ricardo, and I told Ricardo, I said the first ball that's halfway straight, you swing at it. And he was a good bad ball hitter, and it's like don't get and pitchers unfortunately try to get ahead, and he was a bad guy to try to get ahead on, because he was just such a tremendous hitter, and over time he became a real good hitter. When pitchers threw sliders, it got to the point where, okay, well, you can't throw a slider with him, you can't throw a fastball. I mean, there's not much stuff left, and but he just saw the ball and hit it.
Now, watching today's game, what's different about these approaches at the plate? Do you think that the pitching is just that much better, or do you think that hitters now are going for the long ball rather than high average, and they don't care about strikeouts as much?
Well, the speed of the pitching is tremendously different. We faced a guy at USC Aiken that was a draft pick, and I remember them saying he threw 93, and I remember hitting against him, and it was like, I can hear it, but I'm not so sure I could hit it. It was, and these guys now, I mean, 93 is nothing. I mean, there's guys.
Yeah, it's expected.
You're 95 plus, and I'm not so sure, how you teach a kid to hit that kind of velocity. I mean, you just got to start so soon. So that part of the game has changed tremendously. I think you got more people now crowd to plate than they did back then, because the pitchers back then, you didn't get warnings. I mean, you just beamed people, and it was just the way it was. So I think more hitters now are crowding the plate, but the pitching is tremendous now. I mean, we didn't have that kind of velocity back then, and a lot of it has to do with just the weight training and the diets and
sports science behind it all.
Yeah, all the stuff you get growing up. I mean, there's more coaching and things like that, and I think some of the technology has changed the pitching.
Right.
I know at our facility at Tech, we have I don't know how much money they spent on the cameras and stuff like that, but when you can see all that stuff in slow motion and you see it on camera, I mean, you can analyze the heck out of it. And all of ours was just done on site. You didn't have the videos and stuff like that.
Do you think to some degree, though, there is like an analysis by paralysis? Like there's too much information out there for some of these guys, and specifically hitters, right? Like I don't really agree with the whole launch angle concept that a lot of these guys are swinging through the zone. I'm like, swing on plane with the ball is kind of what I always preach to kids.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I still think there's a place for somebody to hit for an average. I mean, I get the home run situation, especially in college baseball. I mean, those guys are throwing so hard. If you make good contact, I mean, you got a good possibility of hitting a home run. With the wooden bats, it's probably a little bit different. You don't see people get bunted over in college baseball anymore. You don't see a lot of stolen bases. I think there's still a place for that, and maybe some team somewhere along the way will play old school baseball and be competitive. But for the time being, I mean, you got to hit home runs. I mean, it's just the way it is. And there's at Georgia Tech, we always hit for a high batting average. So there's there's that's a good thing. That we're pretty proud of the fact that our team usually has a good team batting average, but we still hit a lot of home runs, and that's just changed the game. I still think there's a place in the lineup for somebody that's going to hit for a high average and be a singles double type of hitter and a punch and Judy type of hitter. I mean, there's a slot in the lineup for that person. It's just not, it's not as prevalent as it was back then to have that guy in the lineup. But I still think there's a spot there for him.
Yeah. What is one piece of advice from a coaching perspective that you think, all high schoolers that are trying to go play college ball should know?
Well, and you got to take this with a grain of salt. All these kids now have a personal hitting coach, that they work with in the cages, and it's usually, well, it's not their high school coach and it's not their college coach. It's a different coach. And my view is that when you choose to play on a team, oftentimes those coaches may have a little bit different idea of hitting instruction and things like that. And you can't really have two coaches. You have to have one and kind of stick by them. And if you choose to play on a college team, it should be the guy at the college level that's your hitting coach. If you play on a high school team, and it should be your high school coach. And oftentimes that's not the coach that the kids are listening to. And it goes, on the field as well, even defensively and things like that. My brother is a high school coach, and, some of the stuff that he hears is like, you're not going to do that on this team. I mean, this is not going to be the way it happens here.
Yeah.
So that part of the game has changed tremendously because and not saying that those coaches aren't good coaches, because they are good coaches. It's just that you can't have two hitting coaches. You can't have two pitching coaches. I mean, it's just very, very difficult.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. And Uncle Mark, another question for you in today's NIL world, do you agree with being able to transfer to schools year after year? Do you think that there should be some sort of limitation on transfers? And do you like the fact that, players are now getting paid?
I think the NIL is probably a positive thing. Way back when you couldn't you'd have to sit out a year to transfer that. There's kids that need to transfer, and it could be, if you look at my career and you say, well, heck, if I was at Tech now, after my freshman or sophomore year, I may have made a decision to say, hey, I could go somewhere else and play more than I'm playing here. And I could have made a decision to do that. And I think kids should have the opportunity, if they want to play, sometimes you because you have this little area that you work in the country, you don't see how good the other players are. And then when you walk on campus and you're, like in my case, there's 5 or 6 other shortstops that are as good, if not better than you are, you finally realize at some point that, hey, maybe I can't play Division I and may need to go to junior college, or I need to go to a Division II team, or I maybe need to go play for somebody that's not in the ACC, maybe in another conference, and I have an opportunity to play. And then sometimes these teams have a need for a specific player, because they lost somebody due to the draft or something like that, and they have an opening that person can fill the slot. So I'm not against the kids being able to transfer. I'm not against a kid that can make money and make a living through the NIL. I mean, it's awesome. I mean, when you think about it, the reversed effect may actually take place, because some of these kids are going to stay there through their senior year and get their degrees because they are getting some money. And, that person would have maybe had to leave after their junior year and go into the draft so that they could make some money playing baseball. But now they can make money still be in college, and they can finish their degree, which is, I don't know how you can picture that as a negative thing, because that's a positive thing if they finish their degrees prior to going to play pro baseball. So I'm not opposed to that.
Absolutely.
A lot of money in it, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of money.
There is, especially in football. I mean, I think it pertains more so to football than it does any other sport, obviously, because there's the most money in football. But in baseball, it's like SEC. They're paying dudes pretty hefty amounts of money to play baseball at LSU, for example, and places like that.
Well, we may have the National Player of the Year at Tech this year, Drew Burress, and if he's not finished with school, he's close to being finished with school. And how often is a first round draft pick got his degree under their belt before they go on the major league draft?
That's true. We heard you played a little football.
Excuse me?
Oh, yeah. We want to hear about your football story at Georgia Tech.
Oh,
we heard you played a little football back in the day.
So anyway, back in the day, we played every year against the University of Georgia. It was the JV football game. So, you had your varsity team that played, and then they actually had a JV team. So Georgia and Georgia Tech played a JV football game on Thanksgiving weekend.
Oh.
And so this happened year after year after year. And Bill Curry was our football coach, and he decided to redshirt, I guess, a whole bunch of players. And so he was lacking numbers for the JV game. So they put it out in the school newspaper that they're having tryouts, and they had openings for so many slots of players. And so I went out, and this was my junior. I went and tried out and made the team and actually started defensive back. And I was, my claim to fame was I was toast on a stick for the game-winning touchdown playing defensive back. So once again, I made the newspaper with the University of Georgia guy catching a pass right over top of my head. So
awesome. Newspaper.
Toast. They didn't say toast on a stick back then, but it was something different. I don't know what they called it.
I think they should bring back the JV Turkey Bowl games.
Yeah,
they should film that. There's a lot of money in that. I feel like I'd watch it for sure.
It was awesome, though. I mean, it was
pretty cool.
It was a fun time. The thing, and this was my junior year, so I was not as good a shape, and that was the one thing when I was playing that game. The one thing I kind of was saying, I thought I was in better shape than this. I was.
So how many weeks prior to the game were you practicing with the football team?
I mean, it was like 2 weeks. I mean, it was, it was like cover 2 defense, or man, that was our choice. I mean, it wasn't much at all. I mean, because they had tryouts, and we were out there in the game. I want to say it was 2 weeks. I don't think
it's not easy being a dual sport athlete.
It's not a lot of time to figure it out.
That's great.
But there was, I think we had 6 guys that made the team out from tryouts, and they were all kind of like me. We had played high school ball and that kind of thing, but we didn't. Georgia Tech didn't win that game.
I heard you used to stick guys though. Heard you could hit.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was a decent football player. Yeah, I mean, it was just a size thing. I wasn't big enough to play. I was fast enough to play, but not.
Well, and that brings me to my next question for you. I mean, with baseball being more specialized now, you see a lot of pitchers, a lot of hitters, entering middle school sticking to one sport. How
Mhm.
important do you think it is? Do you think it makes sense for some kids to play multiple sports still, or has that kind of gone away? And do you think that that's ever going to come back?
Especially,
You know, and you guys know this. I mean, if you're a baseball player, you've got to be able to run, you've got to be able to throw, and you got to be able to hit with power. As these youth players, I mean, if they can't run and they can't throw and they can't hit with power, I mean, they're probably not going to play in college. I mean, they're just not. I mean, and so I think some of these youth players are spending a lot of time, money, and effort in individualizing themselves into this one sport. And when I look at some of these guys and say, okay, well, you're not very fast and you don't have a real strong arm. I mean, this is not something that you're going to do at the college level. It's just not going to happen. And so, some of those kids could do something different in high school and, maybe run track or not track, but I mean, maybe play football or play basketball or, play lacrosse or something like that. With the skills that they have, would be able to contribute to a high school team or maybe even a college team. It's just like football. I mean, if you're an offensive lineman and you weigh 180 pounds, I mean, your life expectancy is not very long. You
Right.
may be able to play in high school, but you're not going to play in college. You're just not big enough. And some of that stuff is just God-given skill. I mean, you can't really teach a person to increase their velocity by 10 miles an hour. I mean, it's not something that either you have it or you don't. You can't teach a kid to go from a 7.2 runner to a 6.8 runner. I mean, it's just either you have it or you don't. And so some of these kids, I think, are missing out on having a lot of fun in high school by individualizing and playing one sport when their skill level is probably where they can play multiple sports and have a lot more fun. Baseball now is a year-round sport, and if I got I have grandkids now, and I tell their parents, I said, just let them go out there and have fun. I mean, it's way too early to determine whether or not they can even potentially be a baseball player.
yeah.
Because
Some of these parents that are like 8 years old.
Yeah, I mean,
doing it.
it's just crazy, and it's like,
Yeah.
If you can't run, you can't throw. I know it's pretty
simple.
You're done at high school.
The writing's on the wall.
I
Yeah,
tell guys, like, you got to have at least 4 out of the 5 tools. Like, if you don't have 4 out of the 5 tools going in, you're not going to play college ball.
No.
Yeah. I mean,
well,
unless you have
I don't even look at 4 out of the 5 tools. I mean, it's run, throw, and hit with power. You got to be able to do 2 of those
There's
3
3,
pretty darn good.
unless you pass the eye candy test, which unless you're like 6'5" and you
Right.
throw maybe 95 and everything else can be dog crap, then they might take a chance on you.
Well,
Yeah,
I can tell you that if you ever get a chance to see this Drew Burris play, he's not a very big statured guy, but he can hit a ball a long way and he can run and he can throw. So
That's all you need.
He's the third baseman, right?
no, center fielder.
And he was the Gatorade Player of the Year in Georgia before he went to Tech, right? Yeah,
Was he the guy that was knocking all those tanks?
his freshman year.
His freshman year's average was like over 400 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
By himself carrying the team.
Yeah,
Looked like.
yeah, he's a special player. Yeah,
I thought he would have gone to the draft already.
I think he'll be probably one of the handful of people that are going to be, preseason player of the year nominees type of thing.
I'm surprised he didn't. I'm surprised he decided to come back. Well, I mean, I guess NIL money alone would be enough, but like, I mean, he had, especially after those first couple of years, he had a
And well,
shot.
like I said, I think he's either graduated or close to graduation. Um,
I mean, technically, he's on track. Even it doesn't matter if he could even get like his masters if he was playing 5 years, he got his masters out of the way or was on some
yeah,
program,
that's right.
and then come out get drafted on top of that, probably and like not owe any money on anything. I mean, it's not the worst plan
No,
at all. I mean, he's already winning in life anyway, right?
right.
We've all dreamed about being in his position,
Yeah,
but
we perfect game just came out. We're preseason number 2 in the country. So
oh, are y'all a older team this year?
no, we got 5 guys that are probably first round draft picks.
And
So
you guys had a good football season too.
yeah, we had a pretty good football season. We don't have 5 first round draft picks though in football.
You catch a lot of the games. You go to a lot of the games anymore.
I went. I had season tickets. Yeah, I went to them. You know, support the football program pretty good.
Support the cause. Yeah, those are. It must be quite some exciting games.
You know, we have the national closer of the year on our team. You know, Mason Patel, and he's a out. He I think last year he did a lot of middle relief, but you know he won a lot of games last year. He's coming back, so we got another. And then our catcher is, our catcher bats third in the lineup, so he's an outstanding player. And we got a kid transferred in from I think Southern Cal or UCLA. That's a second baseman. We got a pitcher that I think transferred from Tennessee, I believe. So we got some really good players, and looking forward to the season. You know, we have a new coach this year, so because our coach retired and James Ramsey took over, so he's been the coach in waiting type of thing, and I think he'll do a outstanding job with the guys we got.
Now, as a coach, were you ever sent out to do recruiting on your own, or did you have your own guys that you personally brought in?
Well, if you want me to give you my claim to fame,
Yes,
so
that's exactly what I want.
I went to, my hometown was Maryland, and Coach Morris sent me to there was an East-West All-Star game in American Legion in Pennsylvania, and it was, I think it was East-West. And so all the best American Legion players were there, and I happened to find this little short, kind of like you, Mitch, kind of a shorter third baseman that hit with power and ran halfway decent, had a decent, good arm and that kind of thing. And he was a switch hitter, and we ended up signing him, and he batted third in the lineup as a freshman, hit 16 home runs, and was a rookie of the year type of thing. Guy named Frank Bolick, and he went on to play for the Milwaukee Brewers and spent some time in Japan. After his career ended, he just retired. So he was a pretty good player, but he was I think he was the ACC Rookie of the Year.
So you got the eye.
Yeah, so I it's probably somebody, just due to stature, it was somebody that probably a lot of people passed over. He probably played shortstop in high school, but he was definitely a third baseman, and a lot of people probably looked at him defensively and said, well, this guy's going to have to play third base or not going to be a shortstop. I guess he was, but he was a switch hitter, and he batted third in our lineup from the day one, as a freshman. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
That's something that's remained true throughout baseball's history is if you hit, you don't sit, right? They're going to find a spot for you. But again, I guess it helps to run and throw too.
Yeah. Well, as a freshman, he had 16 home runs, if I remember correctly, so he was a solid third baseman. I mean, he wasn't overwhelming third baseman, but a solid third baseman. And a good arm and could run a little bit, and but he could hit with average and hit 16 home runs as a freshman. That's pretty good.
Absolutely.
He was able to make
And
a
that was
living
back
with it.
we didn't hit a lot of home runs.
What bat? Okay, so it was like the green and silver Easton bats
Yes.
whenever you
Yeah.
played.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell us the story with the tennis balls. There was a tennis ball story with Uncle American Legion.
Well, that's my brother. That wasn't me.
Right.
Loading those tennis balls in the bats, man, because the tops of the bats weren't connected. I mean, you could actually get rid of the top of the bat and stick tennis balls in there and put the top of the bat back on and use that super glue to try to make sure it didn't come undone. But I remember my brother playing a game and his super glue didn't work as well as it should have, and it got undone.
Busted.
Yeah. I'll tell you something, interesting story, and this goes back to the coaching thing. We had a guy named Ty Griffin that came to Tech as a freshman. He started as a freshman, but my year that I coached full time, my job was to teach him how to switch hit. And, he was a right-handed hitter and he could really, really run. And, we wanted to get him on the left side of the plate and get him down a baseline a little quicker and that kind of thing. And he was a solid right-handed hitter. But anyway, he ended up playing for the Olympic team, and he was the one that hit the home run when we beat the Russians,
Wow.
Cubans in the Olympics.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so he had the game-winning home run for us to win the gold medal. And he did it from the left side of the plate, so that was even better.
Got the eye.
Yeah.
Humbly taking credit.
Oh, he would give me credit.
Yeah. That'd be awesome. Next guy to have on the podcast. That'd be awesome.
We had our 40th year anniversary, our ACC championship. So we're going to have, for the next 4 years, we're going to have 40-year anniversaries for ACC championships. That's pretty cool.
Dang.
Do you guys get
throw a
together?
party every year for you guys?
What's that?
They're just going to throw a party for you guys every year?
Yeah, we've already said that the 85 team gets to come back in 86 and the 85 and 86 team gets to come back for 87. So we're just going to keep piling it on.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
a lot of y'all still keep in contact?
Well, we have a really good group. I mean, you think about it, we had 16 freshmen, so we there's 6 of us still there at our senior year, and yeah, we've done a good job of keeping up with each other.
No, I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And unfortunately, some of that had to do with the tragedy of losing one of our teammates, Jim Poole. We unfortunately had to go to a funeral. Ricardo Ingram has passed away as well. And so both of those guys passed away at a young age, and unfortunately, you reunite at funerals and things like that. But yeah, we've stayed in touch. Ricardo, coached. He played pro ball, and then he ended up coaching pro ball, and I think he passed away from cancer, and then Jim Poole had that Lou Gehrig's disease. So.
Oh yeah, that is tragic. But I mean, it's awesome that majority of you guys are still in contact, and
yeah. Well, we had a big golf tournament for Jim Poole they've had it several years, but they really asked us to help out this year, and we raised lots of money, and
that's good.
And it was a good thing. It was a good way for us to get back together. I don't know.
Are y'all good at golf?
We had, as a matter of fact, I'm kind of PO'd about some of that stuff because we had a 1985 ACC championship autograph ball that I was bidding on, and some guy online outbid me, and he wasn't even on the team, and he outbid me, and it's like this is disrespectful.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Uncle Mark can actually he can swing it on the links a little bit, man. Uncle Mark's a golf.
Quite the golf. I mean, I feel like that's what all baseball players turn to after is golf. Like, you think it's the exact opposite of baseball when it comes to hitting, but like it's
Well,
one of those.
I can tell you this, that we had that Frank Bullock guy, the guy that I told you about from American Legion that I recruited. I mean, he could smash a golf ball. I mean, just absolutely smash it. And we have a couple guys that that were good baseball players that can just. They may not know where it's going, but they can hit it a long way.
That's how I feel. I could send it 300, 350 somewhere. I just may not go straight.
Yeah.
It may never go, may not even go anywhere remotely close down the fairway.
Yeah, I'm kind of a Punch and Judy in golf, so if you can picture that, that's what I do.
He
Whatever
grabs
works.
he grabs the 3-wood instead of the driver,
Hey, whatever works. I play to have a good time, not to win. Baseball, I play to win and have a good time.
Welcome, Mark. I really appreciate you taking the time with us
bet.
today. Now, the fun time and the stories you shared were great. And we'll make sure we get this podcast out in a couple weeks and be able to send it over to you to check out as well.
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for your time. Yeah, enjoyed it, guys.
Thank you.
All right, take
Thanks.
care.